The Raptors just came out and squashed the Chicago Bulls. And while the Bulls are certainly in disarray, and it looked like Zach LaVine was almost auditioning for the Toronto Raptors in this game, there are a lot of things to be encouraged about. It was also an in-season tournament game. The Raptors were plugging for point differential at the end of this one, despite already being eliminated. But I don't care, because in a game where we didn't have to have Scottie Barnes or Pascal Siakam go absolutely nuclear, everyone really stepped up, came together, and ended up getting a big win against Chicago. And yes, the Bulls are bad. If you look at the standings right now, Chicago's falling down below the Charlotte Hornets. Losses are piling up day after day, but you know what? They still have a lot of talent. They still have a lot of guys on that roster that can get hot, and they beat the Toronto Raptors early on in the season, but Toronto came out and really just didn't pull any punches from start to finish ever since that complete, utter dud that we dropped against the Orlando Magic. The energy, the intensity the Raptors have been playing with game in, game out has really been on another level. So I'm really excited to sort of dive into everything that happened in this game. But before we jump into that, folks, we are extremely close to 30,000 subscribers. 50% of the viewers that are watching this vids are not subscribed to the channel. So, we'll likely hit it by tonight if we get a few subs rolling. I'm recording this from a hotel room, Montreal, after being up for the past 15 hours. I feel like traveling. So, pumped to talk about this game, potentially hit that milestone here tonight. But let's dive into the news. Let's dive into this game because, as mentioned, this was a really well-rounded affair for this Toronto Raptors squad. And looking at the box score, right, you can look at, he deserves the most credit in this one from, the Raptors side of things. OG Anunoby was really dominant on both ends of the floor of this game. 26 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, 10 of 14 from the field. It felt like he was automatic. Any jumper, any shot that he put up, it was going down directly. And, games like this, you see the value in an OG Anunoby because we know game in, game out, he's going to provide elite defense. He's going to be able to sort of clamp up the other guy in the other team, or at least slow down whatever's going on in the offense in his matchup against DeRozan. Even though, especially LaVine, did end up getting really hot, there were some moments where they went crazy. OG's always providing on the defensive end, but then he's always steady. He's always a 3-and-D threat, or floor spacing threat for this Raptors team on the offensive end. But then he can have nights like this where he really pops off. He can really just explode on the offensive end. It's definitely not something we should expect every given night from OG Anunoby, but the fact he's capable of doing this, especially against a team that, you really need to sort of step on their throat and squash them if we're going to be a squad that's going to be competing in the Eastern Conference. OG being able to go off for nights like this is definitely huge for this Raptors team. But really, we can't talk about one player too much in this one because it was a completely well-rounded affair. I mean, Pascal Siakam didn't have to do too much in this one tonight. Didn't make many threes. One crazy fadeaway at the end, but had 18 points, 8 assists, 3 rebounds. The focal point of the defense was really on stopping Pascal from the Chicago Bulls, and he made some great reads, made some great decisions, and then obviously made some times to OG Anunoby who made them pay. And then, similar to Scottie Barnes, again, focal point of the defense is locked into in the paint. He did get a couple of nice Jakob Poeltl passes underneath the net, and then Scottie was able to finish at the rim. But there wasn't a lot had to be asked of Scottie Barnes and Pascal Siakam on the offensive end. Scottie obviously had 13, 10, and 6 in this outing, but the Raptors just sort of played well-rounded basketball, and the decision-making was great. And this new style of offense, that Darko Rajakovic has sort of been trying to implement, it's been hit or miss certain games. It seems like we revert back to old habits some nights, and then we might overpass in certain games. So tonight, I thought the Raptors found a really nice balance in what they were trying to do and execute on the offensive end. And, round out the starting lineup, everyone that's sort of been playing. Dennis Schroeder, 1 for 9 from the three-point line. It's tough to see, but 17 points, 5 assists. Dennis Schroeder, we've started to get the feel for how Dennis Schroeder kind of goes. The three-pointer, the jump shot, it's hit or miss. It's hit or miss at times. It looks really good at moments, and sometimes it doesn't really look that great. But he's always providing a level of energy on the defensive end. He's always pushing the pace, driving the lanes, making some nice dimes. So I'm still really happy with the style, the presence that Dennis Schroeder ends up providing for this Toronto Raptors squad. And then in the paint, after I sort of made my video regarding Jakob Poeltl sort of disappointing this season a few days ago, he's kind of stepped things up. Defensively, he's looking more mobile. He's looking a bit more engaged. And 15 points, 10 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, and 1 block for Poeltl in this one, and 7 of 8 from the field. Can't ask for much more except for hitting a few free throws, because 1 of 5 from the free throw line is a serious problem. And down the stretch of games, if we want Jakob Poeltl to be on the floor. He can't be shooting 20% from behind the free throw line. But however weirdly I wanted to word that. But again, the Toronto Raptors starters haven't really been the focal point in terms of concern, in terms of issues for this Raptors team this past season. And as the bench is really the question mark, and it's going to be the floor raiser for this Raptors team night in, night out. It's going to be the reason we're able to beat teams like the Chicago Bulls and whoever the heck we're matched up against. And the bench looked really good. And the first guy we got to talk about, because everyone was bagging on him after he missed those free throws against Indiana a couple nights ago, but Gary Trent Jr., 16 points in this game. Even though the percentages, they're solid, 6 of 13, 4 of 9 from behind the three-point line, no other real stats there, but just from the eye test looked really confident. He was firing up shots, maybe even rushed them at times, but heck, I don't even care if he's rushing shots because I want him to be confident firing up those jumpers. I don't think there's been a lack of confidence from Gary Trent Jr. this season, but the fact that he had some extra pep in his step, really trying to shoot out of his slump, I kind of like that mentality for a guy like Gary Trent Jr. He's a player that's supposed to be a spark plug. He's supposed to be a bucket getter for this Raptors team. So if he's not out there trying to get buckets, not trying to assert his presence, assert his name on the game, then there's no real reason to have him out there. He's also looking more engaged on the defensive end. So after a few slumps, after a few just bad moments for Gary Trent Jr. in recent games, dealing with the injuries, plantar fasciitis, I broke down some of the details as to why he's been struggling in recent vids, but I liked what I saw. I like the approach. I like the mentality shift from Gary Trent Jr. in this one. But again, it wasn't just Gary off the bench. Malachi Flynn, only had 2 points, but I just thought was a solid presence out there on the court. I'm looking at the box score here now. Doesn't look like he had that solid of a game, but didn't do too much, didn't do anything crazy. I'm just happy with the calmness that Malachi Flynn is playing with when he gets coming into the game. Because there were moments last season, heck, even at the start of this year, where Flynn would come in and the switch would get flipped. Other teams start targeting him on the defensive end. He'd be coughing up the ball, he'd be doing whatever. And even on nights where he didn't have a big performance, and he had a big one in his most recent outing, but he's just still really solid. So that's huge for this Raptors team, going forward, to have a reliable backup point guard, even if he's not putting up insane numbers when you don't need him to, right? That's just a presence, a steady presence off the bench of the Toronto Raptors. Steady Freddy before he was inserted into the starting lineup. But, you also had Chris Boucher, solid game, but Precious Achiuwa especially, I thought, he had really nasty dunk in this one, but 8.7 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 blocks, and 2 turnovers. And the thing about Precious Achiuwa is this season he's been forcing his game a little bit, been making some dimes and stuff, a couple of poor decisions, slashing in and doing some spin moves, passing it straight into 4 red jerseys, the Chicago Bulls who are wearing red tonight. But I get, my brain goes back and forth because I like Precious Achiuwa trying different things, trying to expand his game and having that green light, but there are moments where it really backfires on this Raptors squad. But tonight it was more positive than negative, and if we can just get this style of game for Precious Achiuwa, you can live with a few turnovers, you can live with a few mistakes, but we need the positive things to sort of go down. I thought Precious Achiuwa was more positive than negative in this one here tonight. And then back in the rotation in this one, Gradey Dick, the Raptors kind of had this game in hand, so it made sense why the Raptors threw him in there. But, he had a couple free throws. He didn't end up actually taking a proper field goal. Rush sort of a mid-range jump shot, got fouled on it, but, Gradey Dick, Darko Rajakovic had some interesting comments about, his future and his opportunities and the approach to sort of developing him. I thought he said a lot of the right things, talking about Gradey Dick's the future. We're going to have to live with some of his mistakes. And even though it's maybe not led to some losses, but it's played a part in the Raptors losing some games this year, in the long run, I'm really bullish on Gradey Dick's ability to be a really solid player for this Raptors squad. So we'll see what happens with this Raptors team. And, the last thing, we sort of discussed the Raptors guys. I alluded to it early in this video, but, Zach LaVine looked like he was playing to leave an impression, auditioning, whether it be for the Toronto Raptors. Obviously, we've been named in some rumors as of late, but had 36 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists. Regardless of how you think Zach LaVine played in this one, took 23 shots and all that, he was trying to send a message. He was trying to really ball out for this Chicago Bulls team, whether he's playing to make a trade happen or whatever's going on there. But did want to give a little shout out to Zach LaVine for playing well. If he's a future Toronto Raptor, we'll embrace him. But again, I've made my thoughts known that I don't want to give up the farm to acquire a Zach LaVine. But let me know what you guys think about this Toronto Raptors game. the position of the Toronto Raptors going forward. I talked about this stretch being an extremely important stretch of games for this Raptors squad. I mean, lots of teams at our level. It started off with a really brutal loss to the Orlando Magic. Now they've been winning game after game after game, so maybe they are upper tier in the Eastern Conference, but big wins against the Indiana Pacers, now against the Chicago Bulls, right? Last few games have been encouraging for this Raptors team. We're back at 500, looking at the Eastern Conference. I mean, we're right in that mix. Even though we're ninth, even though we're technically out of the top 8 at this point, I mean, we're a game behind Indiana. We're a game and a half behind the Knicks to be out of the play-in sort of situation. And then, 4 games out of first. I mean, if the Raptors go on a little bit of a run, if they put together some W's, things could be looking really good in the next few weeks. So hopefully the Raptors are able to maintain that. But folks, you guys are the best for making the stars. Subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. Again, hoping to hit that 30K mark tonight. Exciting to sort of celebrate that tomorrow, but appreciate you guys as always. I'm signing out. Cheers.